Well, let's talk about a fast growing company, right? So we've talked a little bit about turnaround projects, but when you joined Olaplex, I think they were going around 70% year over year. Now the business is growing well over 100% year over year, almost doubled in terms of growth rate, and it's still maintained that pretty. It seems almost like you're cooking the books profitability. So what was it like when you came in? What were some of the investments that you made that kind of accelerated that growth profile?
Well, I was very fortunate. By this time, joining Olaplex, Advent International was my fifth private equity backed, kind of company that I work with, and they were very clear with me. They really wanted to invest behind the brand. It wasn't one of those, companies where they kind of say, "Look, let's milk it for what it's worth." It was never that directive, and I would never have joined a private equity if that was the directive. In fact, none of the private equity I work with had that kind of a directive. And that makes it much more appealing for somebody who's coming in, whether to turn around or to grow. And it was very clear to me that Olaplex had a couple of great things going for it because I was already at Moroccan Oil, really monitoring their success. First
Yeah.
and foremost, their social media digital platform was really very organic and very authentic. Before the word authentic was being thrown around, that was one thing that came across loud and clear. Secondly, it was their patterns, right? The fact that I remember when I heard that they beat L'Oreal in that first, sort of lawsuit, it was a collective cheer, in the business, especially for small businesses. And, it was very rare for a competitor like Moroccan Oil to be cheering Olaplex on. But that was that camaraderie, right? That was the second thing. They kind of united the category, so to speak, with the hair prestige category or the hair category. And then the third thing about them was that they were a remote working culture. And I have always wondered, like, if I were to restart a company, what would be the differentiator? And to be able to get talent from across the globe. And so those three things were very clear to me as I was walking in. And then the one thing that brought it all together was that they had both critical acclaim. So they win all these awards that you can think of, and but they also have box office success. I mean, they generate a boatload of revenue. And I'm like, hey, no movie gets that kind of credit. You either win an Oscar and become a dud at the box office, or you make a lot of money at the box office and you win no Oscars, right? And they have both. So walking in, I realized I have a very special team of people, but I also know that we have to have structure and discipline and investment. So I kind of lean on what I know best, which is the e-commerce, the direct to consumer, the digital space. Because those things, you can jettison something when it doesn't work. And when something works, you can double click, double down, and you can prove it with data that it works because there's call to action, there's KPIs, there's return on investment. But unbeknownst to me, I joined in January 8th of 2020. Now in hindsight, I always tell people must have thought I was a genius, by doing that. I wasn't. I was just sometimes you default to what you know best. So we updated the website. I mean, the website was really, when you went in, it was two similar picture. Underneath say professional and the other one say consumer. So we quickly updated the website, make it an e-commerce website. And the other thing was they were already so strong on Instagram. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the next big thing? Like Instagram is great. They were just dabbling on TikTok. And I remember they had like 12 million views. I'm like, that's nothing. We need to do more. And so
Yeah.
when I started in April of 2020, there were 24 million views. And today, if you look at it, we are pushing close to 700 million views on our hashtag Olaplex. So that
Wow.
is the power, right, of recognizing the good that they do, the momentum that they have, and giving them even more to do. So those were some of the investment we made. And then finally in people, I was employee number 36. And today we have 125 people in 2 years and a little bit over. So
Wow.
if you think about it, those were the things that we were willing to invest in. And then the final thing was we really built out an R&D team. I mean, R&D used to be outsourced, and today we have a team of 12 people with our own R&D facility on the Pfizer campus, which is a 7,000 square foot sort of laboratory to really test and look at innovation. And we now have innovation right through 36, 48 months when we know we can lean in on those innovation and still be very relevant in the marketplace. So if you think about it, there was nothing really specific, but it was everything that Olaplex did well. and I kind of gave it that ability to do even more of it. And
Yep.
that's why I'm so excited, because to me, leadership is not about doing everything yourself. Leadership is to allow people to do bigger and better.
It's funny, like obviously the team got bigger, and I want to talk about that. I'm really interested in the kind of recruiting side of things and how you think about recruiting and how you think about the people that you bring in. But I was just doing some quick math in my head. So the market cap per employee is like $100 million. Like what? That is such a
And I
wild number.
used to think I dreamt big, because when I walk into I used to tell them, every one of you need to be about like a $5 million employee. And they're like, okay. And, because I was looking at where we were and kind of like, getting it up a little bit. And then when we went public, my head of finance came to me and said, well, JuE, you have to dream bigger now, because each one of them is much more than 5 million. I say, yeah, I just realized that too. So you're
There,
right.
it's over 100 million, or it's like almost 100 million. That's crazy.